Hello there, my name is Gazimov and welcome to another experiment. Now, I've swapped the great outdoors where I've done the last two videos for somewhere a little bit warmer. It's been a bit rainy and stormy recently, so it's not really great for recording videos outdoors. So this time I'm doing a video indoors in my humble abode, so welcome. Now, this time I want to talk about the kind of issue with mobile MMOs. Now, I don't want to talk about specifically things like Arcane Legends and the recently announced Game of War, because they're a different kettle of fish. But what I want to focus on are games like World of Warcraft and Rift and Eve and so on, where they've released a mobile app to go with the game. And it started off just being an authenticator, which is a great idea, don't get me wrong. It replaces that keyring, so if you play a number of different MMOs like I do, you don't end up with 5 million different keyrings on your... So you try to open your front door and it's like bang with all these authenticators hanging off it. But they've also kind of evolved slightly. So with Warcraft you have the WoW Armory now. You can actually place auctions up. Well, you could until recently. I don't know if they've fixed that yet. With Rift, you've got a kind of scratch card game that you can play. So you can actually go in and play this little scratch card thing. And I think you can do it once every 6 hours. And that can get you either mini pets or treasures or stuff like that, or crafting ingredients and so on. And other games will let you do things like be able to view your character and stuff like that. And that's similar to what Eve did. So Eve, rather than creating their own app, they just exposed an API, and you can get things like Neocom, which is made by a fan. And you can then inspect your character and see what training you've got and read your mail and stuff like that. But it's a read-only thing. You can't send mail or anything like that. That's all great. Don't get me wrong. But I think we need to kind of push the boat a bit further now. I think that's great, but I'd like to see us kind of push the envelope there a bit. And I'd really like to see us try and get kind of a way of taking the game away from the PC so that you can start playing the game and participating in at least the game universe, if you're not doing exactly the same kind of thing, when you're out and about. Now, there are a couple of basic problems with this. If you go back to Arcane Legends and Game of War and stuff like that, other MMOs, both MMORPGs and MMORTSs that you can get for the iPad and iPhone and Nexus 7 and stuff like that, they have a basic problem, a fundamental issue. They rely on you being hooked to Wi-Fi or having a strong 3G signal. So this is when you're kind of sitting on the sofa at home and you've got friends and family watching telly and you fancy playing a bit of a game, or someone else is using the communal PC or something like that. Or if you're in somewhere like Starbucks or you're in a library and you want to play a game. That's a bit crap, considering when you're usually sat at one of those locations, you're usually with someone else. And I think this is part of the reason why those kind of games haven't taken off hugely, because when you're at home, you'd probably rather be playing a full-fledged MMO like Rift or WoW or whatever. When you're out and about, you're probably meeting people, you're socializing, you're doing that kind of thing. Apart from the odd couple of minute burst when you're waiting for someone to turn up, or when you're waiting for, say, shoes to be repaired or stuff like that, or you're going shopping with someone else and they're going around looking at bits and pieces and you're sitting there on the kind of chairs and you're going, yes, that looks nice. Yeah, you get the idea. The other basic problem is that people treat one of these as a phone, maybe as a web browser, and that's about it, where it's capable of so much more. And they also have a tendency to take one of these and treat it in exactly the same way as the smaller thing, but just a bigger version. And that's a bit crap as well. They're two completely different devices, both in terms of what they do and in terms of the opportunities that are there. And just saying, okay, we'll do the same thing twice is, again, a bit of a wasted opportunity. So what do you need? Well, it's quite simple, really. You need a way of saying, okay, we're going to build a game that can handle not just being on Wi-Fi, but handle being on 3G, handle probably being on 2G, handle those times when you're stuck on a train or stuck in a car or stuck in the back of a cab, or you're waiting for something to happen, or you're doing something else and you want to fill the time. Another example is you're on a plane somewhere and you've got plane Wi-Fi, but it's never brilliant and you can't really play a proper MMO on it. So something that will cater for imperfect connections. Yeah. And that's a no-brainer. I mean, you're sitting there on the train going, but a book, yeah. And you got your iPad, and about all you can do is read a magazine on it or read a comic on it or stuff like that, because you might be able to get a sniff of 3G for 30 seconds and then that's it. Great. The other issue is that people expect this thing to be there all the time, the connection to be there all the time, and it's not. So it goes up and down and it fades in and out. The other issue is that most people, or most of the games that I've played, try and tend to mimic full-fat MMOs. Arcane Legends, great example. And that's great if you don't have a PC or you rarely get access to the PC. But if you've got a PC, you'd probably rather be playing the full MMO. You'd rather not be playing the low-end thing. So, what's the solution? Well, personally, I think we should be looking at the stuff that's happened for developing business software. So let me give you an example. Business software, you sit at your desk, you do your work, you take your phone and use that to access various different things when you're out and about in the field. Let's flip that around. MMOs, you sit at your desk, you go into the game world. You're going out and about in the game world, doing things, experiencing things, adventuring, exploring, all those fantastic things that we love doing in our MMOs. You play something on the phone and it should be something like, well, what would my character be doing at their regular base? Say if they're in a space station, what would be happening? If they're at their home, what would they be doing? If they're in a city, what kind of activities would they be doing? That kind of stuff. It's a different window. It's a different view on the game world. And it then says, okay, what kind of tasks can I give you that fit those scenarios and give you something to do without trying to mimic the full fat MMO thing. It is also a bit more compelling than just scratch cards. But how do you actually say, okay, what rewards should you get? And that's the difficult thing, because you want to say this is worth doing. It's fun, but it's also rewarding. But you don't want it to be more rewarding than actually playing the main game, because otherwise people will sit on their phones and their iPads and stuff like that rather than actually playing your game, which you don't want to happen. But you want to make it more rewarding than doing nothing and just gaining rested bonuses and stuff like that. So there's the trick. You want to have rewards that are compelling, but not too compelling to replace your existing big PC game. So that's the challenge. Now, I reckon there are probably a fair few games out there that can give either bonuses to things like research progression, or bonuses to things like crafting materials, refining bonuses, things that might earn you currency towards decorations, pets, stuff like that, cosmetic items, and other kind of tangible bonuses that you can see and you can understand, you can realize, but that you could probably earn anyway if you were out in the game world. But they're also fun to do, and they keep you involved, and they allow you to keep in contact with people while you're doing all these bits and pieces and stuff like that. And wouldn't it be cool if you could have different experiences depending on if you're on a small phone or a bigger tablet? Yeah? So you get different things that are suitable for the different mediums. Works. Cool. So that's my thought on how we push the kind of MMO apps, the mobile stuff that's hooked into a bigger universe, how we push it that little bit further forward. Anyway, let me know what you think. The comments box is just there, so feel free to fill it in and go for your life. And let me know what you think. Hit the subscribe button as well, because I'll be doing more of these, and it'd be great to keep you updated as I go. Anyway, I have been Gazimov. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you all again soon. Goodbye.